From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hi, everybody. Monday night. Rory Johnston with you here on News Channel 5 Plus. Thanks for tuning in. Kind of a wet Monday out there. Been tracking those storms. Most of them moved out of the Nashville area, so by now we hope you've gotten through that and sitting back now at 7 o'clock and tuning into the Plus, because we got a great hour for you ahead. Some really great advice from a local professional, and we'd like to introduce him. It's his first time here on OpenLine. John Navin from John Navin and Associates.
Well,
John,
thank you, Rory.
Yeah,
Very nice.
Great to have you here. Financial planning, retirement planning, that's what we're going to be talking about, and we've kind of promoted tonight. If you've seen some of the promos, I said we'd have a financial planner here, and he is here. He's got decades of experience from Chicago originally,
yes,
right?
Yes,
and
yes.
now here in the Nashville area with a couple of offices. 737 Plus. Give us a call. Don't wait until the very end. If you would like to talk with John, he'd be glad to answer your questions. And I'm sure everyone has a lot of questions when it comes to this.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about John Navin and Associates, and
Sure.
where you are and how you got started, how this all came about.
Well, it started over 20 years ago,
Yeah.
22 years ago. So it was, we have offices now in Franklin and then also in Nashville.
Yeah.
Still an office in Chicago that we manage, and also throughout the country, because a lot of our folks started inside of Illinois, but then they retired and they said, I'm not living in Illinois anymore, so they branched out in different states. So we're
Right.
actually in quite a few states throughout the country. But really, in essence, it started with basic financial planning, but then we morphed more into this balanced approach. So more about helping people discover what they love to do, making sure they have enough energy to complete it,
Yeah.
and then make sure they can afford it.
Yeah,
So,
and I noticed that in reading, you know, you have, obviously, we're going to talk about an individualized approach for each client
Yes.
who comes in, obviously, because everyone brings a different plan, a different life experience, right?
Right.
But that balance, you talk a lot about that balance,
Yes.
and why it's key. Instead of me coming in and just saying, all right, you're my investment advisor, tell me where I put my money.
Yeah, sure.
You say, slow down, let's sit back here and get a bigger picture here. I want to know more about you, Rory,
Yes.
right?
Well,
and your life and your, right?
they're never the same.
Right.
So some of the tools and strategies you may use are similar, but creating the plan is always different, because what's important to you may not be important to the next person or the following person or the following person. And what's important to us is to help people understand what it is that's important, so that we can create and master the plan around what their passion, purpose, what they're trying to achieve. So
Sure.
yeah, a lot of these people have been on the treadmill for 20, 30 years. We went to school, we got married, we bought a house, and then we've been in the same career for the last 30 years. And for the first time, they can step off that treadmill. Some folks don't know how,
Right.
because it's gone so long. But now they can step off for the first time in their life. They can go, what do I want to do now with the next 30 years? And so
Right.
it's a neat time.
Yeah, and it must be fun for you to
It
be
is.
able to meet so many new different people and see from all walks of life, and you get to create completely different strategies
Yeah.
for them.
Never
right?
the same.
Yeah.
Never the same. So
737 Plus, if you'd like to call in and talk investment advice from John Navin, financial planning, retirement planning. What is an investment advisor?
well, there's different investment advisors. That's a
Right,
good
and
question.
there's a lot of people out there too. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about making sure you pick the right person.
Yes.
I mean, it becomes a very personal relationship
Yes.
between you and your clients.
Yes. And that we could often do. We could do a whole show just on how do you pick the right investment
Right.
advisor, and where do you do background checks, and what do you see. Biggest things that we see in the industry, there's two different types. There's a fiduciary and a suitability standard. Typically, you're fee-based only, which we are. We're fee-based only. We have a fiduciary responsibility, which means that we have to sit on the same side of the table as our clients. So we have a moral, legal, ethical obligation to make sure we do the right thing. So everything is a flat fee. It's adjusted for assets. Typically, it goes down the more assets you have naturally. But the other side of the people in the industry are what's called suitable, and they operate under a different standard, which just means that anything has to be suitable. So if you came in and sat down, I just have to look at your income, or a suitable advisor would have to look at your income, your background, and maybe your assets and your risk tolerance, and I could sell you anything, or a suitable broker could sell you anything. Fiduciaries can't do that. It takes much more of a planning approach, much more of a open table. We have to disclose if there's any conflicts. just a different approach.
Sure. What do you think today, 2015, we hear all the news about, we've gotten through the recession, which was rough on everybody.
Yeah.
What's the most common mistake? I mean, are Americans saving enough? Is that the key to everything, that we're spending too much and not saving enough? Or what is one of the most common mistakes people make when it comes to their money and thinking long term?
There are probably a couple. We're starting to save more, which is nice to see.
Okay.
The other thing that we see, typically with our clients especially, they come to us later in life, meaning in their 50s. One of the mistakes that I see is people using the same person for their accumulation versus their retirement planning. Retirement planning and distribution, the tools you use, the vehicle you use, are not the same that you would for accumulation.
Okay.
Accumulation, we can use straight up stocks because we have time. And the market's going to go up and down and it's going to pull back. So I see people trying to use one vehicle to satisfy all their needs. So
when you say one vehicle, is that
stocks?
I've heard of, and I've heard of some people going. I had a story recently of someone showing up almost at retirement and worked for an automotive manufacturer, a big one, but all he ever had was stock in this one automotive. I mean, that was it. And when the recession hit, there goes a lot of everything.
Well, the 401k goes down to the 201k,
right?
Because you lost 50% of your value,
exactly.
So you can't retire.
Right.
That's what we see a lot of. And then the third thing would be not having a plan. So saving a little bit, not saving enough. Trying to use the same arrow, if that's a term we can use to slay this retirement beast, if you will, to make it successful. You got a different asset allocation is the key, so you're not all in the same place.
Sure.
And then not having a plan. You've got to have a plan.
And how much do you help clients stick to the plan?
Well, that's the most important part.
Right.
Because it's managing the emotion.
Right. It's emotional. I was going to get to that part. You're part psychologist,
absolutely,
right?
Well, you got to manage the fear and the greed. That's the hardest part. When people say, "Well, are you going to call me when the market's going down?" No, and they go, "I'm going to call you to hold your hand, but we're not going to jump and we're not going to, look through a rearview mirror. We're going to create a strategy that says, here's your liquid money. We use buckets. Here's your cash reserves. Here's your income reserves. Here's your short-term money. And here's your long-term money." And they're not in the same place. They're in totally different places.
Right.
Because then you can manage the emotions,
ups and downs.
the ups and downs, and all the different cycles.
One of the mistakes I know that I made was not starting early enough. Now, I've adjusted my plan since then, but if I could go back and talk to the 21-year-old Rory,
yes,
there's a big difference, and so I'm trying to explain to my kids who are younger than that now, but saying, you're going to get started a lot earlier than I did.
Yeah.
Do you have younger clients, or what do you say to younger people who may be watching?
I would you said it.
Yeah.
There's actually a study out.
The difference that it can make, right?
If you put there was a study, a person put $2,000 a year from age 22 until age 30. So they put in $2,000 a year for 8 years, $16,000, and then stopped. Did not put any more money into the market. Same vehicles, S&P 500. And then another person started at age 30 and put $2,000 a year in all the way up until age 65, full retirement age in this example. The person that started from 22 to 30 had more money than the person that started at 30. They put in, so it's time. You got to start early.
No doubt. Oh, a lot more to talk to. I got my own questions, so you guys can just listen in here now. We hope you'll call in when you get a moment. 615-737-PLUS. John Navin from John Navin and Associates is here. We'll be right back. Stay with us.